DFS show with Jon Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, FA Nation? Jon Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook Show. We got 11 games here on a Monday, and we appreciate you all tuning in. Yes, we were a little bit late as we worked through some technical problems, but we're here. No problem. Stacks, what's up? Cam the man saying what's going on, and Jared, yes, apologies. We are a couple of minutes behind schedule today, but don't worry. We're here for you guys for the next hour or so. Breaking down today's slate, giving you all the latest news and action and tidbits that have come out throughout the day, breaking down our favorite matchups. Grande did the playbook. That is out on Fantasy Alarm right now as well. I did some underdog fantasy picks. If you want some props for tonight, you can check out my article over on Fantasy Alarm there as well. A couple of plays that I'm high on here today. RT Sports video went earlier today if you want some props for RT Sports as well. So we got you guys covered. Our guy Iggy Gilbert's got his betting article out there. Hint, hint, there's some Denver Nuggets in there. No biases for our guy Iggy there, the Nuggets fan that he is. But a lot to talk about. Happy to have you all in here with us. And if you haven't already liked the show today, do so. Comment and subscribe. We're here for all of you when it comes to our NBA DFS breakdown. Sir Grande, my friend, how are we doing today, man?
Big slate, 11 games, ton of injury news, including some big-time stars.
Are you playing for Memphis tonight? What's are you saying that?
No, but someone named Matt Hurt is coincidentally. Okay. They have 11 players on their injury report and then signed a guy with the last name of Hurt. I think that is very poetic of Memphis. I think that
not
probably
in the
is
player pool tonight, unfortunately. You know?
Not in the player pool. But I had alluded to it on Twitter and on Discord. They have Memphis has, and we'll just start there. I think this is probably the biggest.
Yeah, I'll bring up the player pool. We'll go through.
So they rolled Luke. So today, when their injury report dropped, we already knew the guys that were already out. But then they ruled Luke Kennard out for a second straight game. Listed John Concher doubtful, and they listed Zaire Williams doubtful. They also put our workman-like boy on the injury report, Vince Williams, as questionable. So I was going through, John. If Vince Williams didn't suit up before this signing, they would not have had enough players to play. They would have 7 active bodies. 5 of them are members of the front court.
Yep.
All big guys.
They're playing big tonight.
2 of them are Scottie Pippen, who's 6'1", and Jacob Gilyard, who's 5'9". That is the older. So, what is it? Matt Hurt? Wasn't sure if I even had his name correct. He is averaging. Too bad, because I'm a G League guy. 22-7 in the G League this year.
What's his 3-point percentage? That's what
no. I'm just look. This is just Shams. Shams is just feeding me, spoon feeding me this information. 22-7. Maybe leads me to believe Vince Williams isn't playing tonight either, and they just run 8 guys and. So things are really messy.
Hurt 6'10" from Duke, by the way. So
we have another big guy. So just another massive member of. I mean, it's just like it's January.
You want his 3-point stats?
Sure.
This year, 23 games, averaging 7 3-point attempts per game, 51% from 3.
What are we doing, stashing this guy in the G League?
6'10" sniper.
Okay. Steve Novak, come on down. Or who's another 6'10" sniper?
Playing for the Memphis Hustle.
Shout out Memphis Hustle. Shout out Matt Hurt. Not on the slate tonight, obviously, but it a lot of this slate's going to revolve around the Grizzlies. And as terrible as that sounds, because this is the second leg of a back-to-back for them. We already know Xavier Tillman can't be extended at all because his knee, despite them not reporting it, we've seen, he played all these minutes and now he can't. Jaren Jackson Jr. is foul happy. Vince Williams. What if we could get a situation with Vince Williams where he doesn't start, but he's active, and then you're like, whoa. Then it's he's probably just not playing, right? Because if he's not starting, he could play or start the game. They foul him. He fouls somebody, checks out. There's a whole lot of insane scenarios that can happen with Memphis tonight. And I didn't mean for this to take up the whole first half of the show, but
is there nothing more live than Jaren Jackson Jr. fouling out tonight if he has to play 45 minutes, right?
Well, he might not get past 25 minutes because the The issue is, to begin with, he's going to have to guard Domantas Sabonis for however many minutes in this game. So this is as fluid a situation as we've had all year. Number one, most fluid situation that we have had. I would say this is worse than the potential Brooklyn sitting situation, because at least we knew like there was a chance that those guys would only play first half. Like there's just potentially 8 guys, 7 of which we can pick from. We don't know if Vince Williams is going to play, and we probably won't know before lock since this game is 8 p.m. Xavier Tillman can't play extended. I mean, this is a terrible situation to be in, but that is where we are, and we're going to have to sift through all the Memphis news.
We will, and obviously there's whenever our ownership gets updated, we'll have that obviously for you guys, our provider on a Monday. A little delay, I think, working through some kinks with them, getting us the correct updated ownership. So
I heard they're Lions fans.
Yeah. They were there in the first half, not there in the second half. So, apologies that we don't have the updated rostership over on site quite yet. But like, I would imagine Scottie Pippen Jr. is like 80% tonight, right? Like $3,500 11 game slate. I feel like the man's in for 40 minutes probably this evening. So, you got to think that there's going to be some rosters put there. Obviously, that's the big news for injury wise. There are a lot of other big names on this slate. Luka, Giannis, Jokic, Sabonis, SGA, Davis, all up over 10K. Let's just dive into it at the point guard position. And we appreciate all of you that are tuning in. If you haven't already liked today's show, do so. If you haven't subscribed already, don't know what you're waiting for. We do 2 NBA videos a day. We do one recorded at night for the morning for overnight folks. And then we come here live every day at 5 p.m. Eastern time. So never miss an NBA show here over at Fantasy Alarm. Our guy Faisal's in the chat. What's up? Cam the man saying James is moved because he gets to play Gigi Jackson tonight. Yeah, Gigi is going to be in for all the minutes here this evening against Sacramento. When we are looking at the point guard position, though, we have Luka at home against Orlando without Kyrie Irving at 11-8. We got SGA in a matchup against Minnesota where he's excelled in this season at 10-1. We got Booker. We got Mitchell, Ball, Brunson, Lillard, all up over 10K. Obviously, the cover of today's playbook was Jalen Brunson. We talked extensively about Jalen Brunson on the show this morning. Given the news, given any of the updates throughout the day, where does Brunson continue to rank for you on this slate, James?
Per dollar, maybe number one. I have not really gravitated away from that. When you remove everybody off the floor that the Knicks are without or have traded, 1.4 fantasy points per minute, 30% usage rate for Jalen Brunson. And like, it's a small sample. So we're about to see how good he can be. And it's just in like the best possible matchup because he gets Charlotte, right? We saw what happened the other day against Utah. Charlotte played negative. I don't even know if you can consider it defense that they played in that first half of that game against Utah. But they're back to being dead last in defensive rating. So Jalen Brunson's first with a bullet. Like, I get it. Luka is 11-8 and he's coming off. I mean, dude, 75, 83, 63, 101, 75. Those are video game fantasy numbers. So you can obviously get to Luka. It's just, I think we are in for 60 fantasy points or more from Jalen Brunson tonight. So Brunson and Luka for me up at the top. I know we got the let him know tweet, so we don't have to really worry about the Donovan Mitchell news. LaMelo, really tough spot. He's questionable. Steve Clifford has talked about how even he's been like, this wasn't a re-aggravation. He just hasn't felt good with his ankle. That's really concerning because he has had a really long injury history for a player who has not been in the NBA that long with his ankles specifically. So
maybe the Ball brothers just have bad ankles.
Yeah, well, yeah. Unfortunately, I mean, this is like, again, it's really concerning that it's not a re-aggravation, right?
Agreed.
Like, came back and just like, nah, I'm not comfortable. Like,
you saw that with Halliburton, though, right? Got rushed back, got hurt again, and missed some time. Halliburton actually is expected to play on Tuesday, but sometimes these players do. We can't even imagine what it's like running up and down the floor for as many minutes as this guy plays at the level he's playing at. even the smallest tweak can cause, real damage there. So I got to ask your opinion here because I've gone back and forth with it all day. Jalen Brunson point prop tonight, 31.5.
I don't know how Charlotte stops him.
It's such a big number, but like he has gone over it.
He's going over it with Randall or getting hooked with Randall.
Yeah.
With
he's there. That's what I'm saying. It almost feels like a trap line because it's such a good matchup. They are on the road, but there is no Randall. Like, I want to take the over so bad. I haven't hit the button yet. Maybe I'll hit the button later. But I've been on a hang with the 31.5 for Brunson today.
I feel pretty comfortable saying over.
LaMelo officially ruled out just now, by the way. Frankie Smokes is available to play.
He's going to play limited minutes.
Yeah.
He's only played like a couple games this year.
Yeah.
And he is a good defender.
It's good for him for still hanging in the league.
Yeah. Shout out to he's available coincidentally against
Emmanuel Mudiay ain't in the league anymore. Frankie Smokes is now. So
True. Look, I mean, like here we are again. Like you want to talk about Brunson prop? Ish Smith on the other side of this matchup. Like I know sometimes.
Yeah.
Jalen Brunson's scoring 40. Jalen Brunson's scoring 40 actual.
Probably right. I'll go bet it. I think it's a good play. I just need to be talked off.
They're last, John. They're last in defensive rating. You literally bet. And he did it in the first quarter.
They're not basically, yeah. He missed the free throw. That kept us from cashing.
I'm just saying, like it was there. Like that was the easiest bet you've made of your life. And you had messaged me prior to it saying I basically bet my whole account on Colin Sexton.
No, I did. I bet my entire DraftKings sportsbook account on Colin Sexton over the 18.5 points the other day. 17.5 points the other day. Yeah.
It's just one of those things where when you you think about the Knicks now, currently constructed, no Quickly, no Barrett, right? There would be the two obvious guys to pick up the brunt of the workload that Randall leaves behind.
Yeah.
Guys replacing him. OG Anunoby isn't a guy who creates his own shot too well. Josh Hart isn't really a guy who can create his own shot. Like all the shot creation is coming from Jalen Brunson. Like all of it.
Yeah.
Every piece of it.
I know it feels too good to be true, but can the man stand the Brunson ladder? Yeah, we might be do the Brunson ladder because that might be the play. I agree with you. Are we just fading Sacramento then tonight? I mean,
they're also
only
like
10-point favorites because they're on the road, I guess.
Well, and they almost. I mean, dude, no lead is
defensively.
Safe.
They're horrible. So
they almost had another Phoenix game against Dallas the other day.
Yeah.
It was a 99.9% probability that they won, and they almost opened the door to Dallas coming back in that game again. Like, I expect a blowout. I don't know how Memphis keeps it close. But you haven't expected these, like, fourth quarter collapses in the past. Like, there was no chance Phoenix comes back in that game. There's no chance that Dallas makes that game competitive. And then they did. So, Memphis has been weirdly scrappy. I will say this, since all their injuries, they've been very competitive. It's just a bunch of young guys like trying to, play themselves into a rotation somewhere. So,
right.
Obviously, Fox and Sabonis are in good spots, but would you rather pay 88 for De'Aaron Fox, who might not play a fourth quarter, or 8,300 for Jamal Murray in full capacity right now?
I mean, a player prop that I did take today was Jamal Murray over 5.5 first quarter points. Plays 9 to 10 minutes in the first quarter of these games. He gets subbed out around the 7-minute mark, comes back in around the 10-minute mark. Dame Lillard plays all 12 minutes of the first quarter for Milwaukee. Yep. So you're talking about an elite matchup for Jamal Murray here. He's gone over that total in 2 of the last 3 games. We know the scoring is. I also like his regular scoring prop. I gave that out on RT Sports today. I think it was 23.5. So I'm perfectly fine going Jamal Murray today when it comes to points. And obviously the matchup himself, 4 straight games and 7 assists is great to see. I'm pretty in on Jamal tonight against Milwaukee.
Right. So I think that's something you have to consider. So 8,800 for Fox. I'd rather play Murray. I would rather play Fred VanVleet 7,500. I know Houston's a little more healthy, but it's a really, really, really good matchup for them. Memphis doesn't play fast. The Lakers do. So like you have that in VanVleet's back pocket. We know the ceiling on VanVleet. Lakers give up a lot of threes per game, the most in the league. I think the Lakers guys play tonight and sit tomorrow, John, but like I'm not sure. Darvin Ham has basically said like we're gonna look for places to sit guys because LeBron and AD are coming off 40 plus minutes. Right. LeBron played 48 minutes in the double overtime game, and now they have a back-to-back. I think they play today because it's Houston, and then they play Atlanta tomorrow. My assumption is the Atlanta game matters less to them than it does the conference game against Houston when both those teams are jockeying for playoff position. So if we got a situation where like D'Lo was playing without both or one of LeBron and Anthony Davis, like D'Lo instantly becomes one of my favorite GPP plays of the slate. We love Colin Sexton, 6,900. Nice. He's still like just too cheap. So I think there's just like, it's hard to get to De'Aaron Fox at 88 when there's all these names underneath that I would just rather play.
We just officially got confirmation Evan Mobley active will play 20 to 24 minutes tonight. So Donnie Mitchell's $9,700. You know, I don't know necessarily that takes us in or off of Mitchell against the Clippers. We did get to let him know tweet earlier, as you mentioned. Again, and why spend 97 when Brunson's 93 and Murray's 93? Like it's kind of where, or 83 rather, it's kind of where we're at with that position here tonight. And I'm with you, VanVleet, great spot. We know they struggle against three-point shooting, the worst three-point shooting defense team in the NBA. Now, VanVleet hasn't been an efficient three-point shooter this year, but he is not afraid to chuck. Still out there attempting many three-pointers. Maybe he'll be able to knock down a few more in this game. And with you on both Russell and Sexton here. Thoughts on the 6K tier, though? Last night we were in on both Tyus and Trey Jones. Trey, a little bit cheaper at 58. Tyus in there at 63.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good matchup for both. Obviously, both teams bottom 5 in defense. Both teams top 5 in pace. Trey Jones, I think, is a little more interesting to me. He has actually been a little better of a fantasy producer since entering the starting lineup. January 4th is when he entered. 1.07 fantasy points per minute for Trey Jones. On the year, Tyus is at 1.01. So both over a fantasy point per minute. No problem getting to either. I would say Tyus has given us more minutes lately, but also Trey Jones' minutes were a little capped because the back-to-back, and he had a little bit of the ankle injury. So I expect him to be back at full 30, low 30s for Trey. I prefer Trey. I have no problem getting to either. I think it's a good spot for both. I don't know if you saw my tweet, but this Spurs team is just so much better with, and we've been saying it earlier, just with a point guard. Like Jeremy Sohan's a good player. He is not a point guard. It's just what it is. So I think I lean Trey. Nothing much else in the 6K tier. Like I like to see the minutes for Reeves was really good the other day, but I can't really click on Reeves unless LeBron or AD were ruled out, which is obviously a possibility. I don't think they sit, but I do think there is a small chance they do.
I agree with you. We did just get an ownership update, so we'll have that loaded on site shortly. And I was, in fact, correct. Scottie Pippen Jr. is your highest projected rostered player, 49.5%. David Roddy just below him at 42%. Victor Wembanyama checking in at 36%, though. So the value allowing people to get to, some of our other favorite potential spend ups on tonight's slate here. But Scottie Pippen Jr. is down there. He was $3,500. I didn't think there was much else to discuss in the 5K tier. If there was a player you wanted to mention, you got anybody?
I want to discuss the Hornets starting lineup that does not have a point guard involved.
Okay. I didn't even see it. What do we got?
Brandon Miller. Yeah, Miller, Martin, Bridges, Washington, Richards. They're just going massive.
So Cody Martin does have point guard eligibility on FanDuel for no reason whatsoever at all. Maybe he's the point guard tonight. Point guard Brandon Miller would be kind of interesting to see.
That's just a big. Martin. They're just gonna do like Martin point guard, but you can have like Bridges bring the ball up. You can have you can have any of those first three names bring the ball up. I don't think there's like an official That is a big body at all times on Jalen Brunson. He's just,
though.
dude, he is just going, he is just going to get to the rim whenever he wants. Like, there's not going to be an ability. Like, Cody Martin's going to guard him here. That's, I think, all but confirmed there.
I wonder if this is going to be a ceiling free throw game for
Brunson. Yeah, could be.
Because he goes back and forth between having like huge free throw games and like, why did he have one free throw in a game? He had 55, but still there's, he feels like for a little guy, Isaiah Thomas, the ITT2, he used to get to the free throw line all the time. He would just, bounce off big bodies and they call fouls on him. You'd think Brunson would be able to get to the free throw line a little bit more for his size, but maybe tonight. Got to check out what May's free throw prop looks like these days. Any thoughts on Ben Simmons?
I think that Ben Simmons provides them a much needed presence because they were good with Ben Simmons. Mm-hmm. I don't think that he's going to play very much.
Sure.
Given it's been his whole career has been a back injury, right? Like it's been the back, and now he's back from a back. Like it's just
okay. Any value worth talking that isn't Scottie Pippen Jr.?
Jalen Suggs would be a little bit interesting if Markelle Fultz was ruled out. I don't have like a strong desire to play him. I wish Ish was starting. I liked the 28 minutes from him the other day, but like, why would I play Smith when I could just play Scottie Pippen, who clearly was was backup point guard. They didn't start a point guard yesterday. They just used Concher and Roddy in the backcourt. Mm-hmm. But Pippen leapfrogged Jacob Gilyard. So my assumption is they just roll with Scottie Pippen and just give him as many minutes as he could possibly handle, and then just give Gilyard the scraps, right? That sure. Would probably be so. Yeah, I think you just plug and play Scottie Pippen and you just move on at that point.
Moving on over to shooting guard then here. Devin Booker's $9,800, Anthony Edwards $85, Paul George $81. You got Brown, Ingram, and Mikal Bridges in your 7K and above tier. I know last night you were pretty high on Mikal Bridges. Saw it in the chat. Obviously, I think it was it Can the Man that said it? Where was it? Yeah, Miles. Oh, I said Miles Bridges. I thought he was talking Mikal. Mikal Bridges there though at $7,200. Pretty good spot for him against Utah.
Yeah. Let's start at the top with Booker.
Yeah.
The guy is on a freaking one. 44, 62, 46 actual in 3 straight games. The Suns have now had 40 plus scorer in 7 consecutive games, which doesn't feel.
Do you think he can go for 50 actual tonight?
Miami's not very good.
So the reason I ask is ESPN Bet. We're talking sportsbook here. They have a promo where if you bet on a game and just bet on the game, doesn't have to be on the player, and someone in that game scores 50 points, if your bet wins or loses, you get a different bonus. Either if they win, they like double what your bet was going to be. If you lose, they credit it back in some sort of like bonus bet capacity. I'm sure they didn't envision this many guys going for 50 plus this season. But Booker's certainly a guy, Durant's certainly a guy that has that in them here.
So I don't know if you knew this. Kevin Durant's career high is 55 points. Did you know?
Yeah, I did not.
I feel like that's like low for going to probably be like a top 5 scorer of all time.
Sure.
I would say your best chances are you're looking at him, Devin Booker, probably Knicks, Charlotte, and Dallas, Denver.
Brunson going 50 actual tonight, you think?
I think it's live.
Good.
Jalen Brunson has really been that good this year. And he has 50 actual in a game this year. So he's had 4 games of 40 plus and a game of 50 plus. And then Devin Booker has done 40 in 4 of his last 7 games or 4 of his last 6. And Luka just scored 73. So I would say those would probably be your 3 best options for a 50 plus scorer. And then GG Jackson, of course, is going to
right. Yep.
But Booker, I don't really have a problem getting to. Miami is in complete flux. They can't stop anybody. They can't score the basketball. Like, it's been a really messy situation for them. I'm okay getting to Ann Edwards. Not like totally interested, but like it's a good game environment, really fast paced for Minnesota in that one. Paul George, no thanks. I think he's going to continue to be limited moving forward. Like I don't know, maybe he plays into the 30s, but I don't have like a strong feeling that he's going to play upper 30s.
Right.
I do like Bridges. Did not have the best numbers with Ben Simmons earlier in the year. Obviously, Ben Simmons handling the ball a lot takes away from other people handling the ball a lot.
Yeah.
But I don't think we should necessarily assume Ben Simmons is going to step right in and play anywhere close to the minutes that would really impact Mikal Bridges. I could see a scenario where Simmons staggers with Nick Claxton or is, starting and then they stagger him with Claxton for the remainder because they don't really have a traditional center right now after Claxton, right? Like it's Sharp is out. So I like Bridges 7,200. I like the multi-position eligibility. I love the Utah matchup. Bottom 10 in defense for Utah, top 10 in pace. So like two great situations for Bridges to be in. Just needs to be more consistent, which he has been at home this year. 40 fantasy points per game essentially at home, 34 on the road. So I like Bridges at 7,200, probably more than anyone else in this like at shooting guard, really in this like pricing tier.
Yeah, are getting some Boston news here. Cornette out, Porzingis out, Horford in. Markel Fultz is also out as we expected here.
Yeah, so bump to Jalen Suggs. Assume Anthony Black starts. We know they'll not ever start Cole Anthony. That would be, I feel like aliens will have taken over Jamal Mosley's body if Cole Anthony is in fact in the starting lineup ever. So I assume it's Black, Suggs in the backcourt. I do think Jalen Suggs.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I was going to say draft percentage has been updated on site, so you can go check those out. I threw them in the Discord as well. So
cool. Yeah, and then for Boston, you and I kind of assume that like they have a back-to-back. If Porzingis did go through shoot-around this morning, for what that's worth, so that seems like he's going to play tomorrow. That seems like a good trend, but that is interesting because it's going to be Horford and then Neemias Queta as their backup with Cornette out as well. So.
Yeah. Yep. At least you can kind of guarantee Queta to likely get in the backup run there because it had been Cornette, so something to at least watch for. When you go below them, under 7K, we've talked Sexton already. You do have Beal at 60 with the dual position eligibility. We have the Boston guards. Vassell, who I was high on this morning. I still don't mind Vassell, but when you got Middleton, you got Miller there at $6,500 each. Clarkson's at 63. Jalen Green liable to go off in a good matchup against the Lakers here. Thoughts on the 6K tier?
I mean, I'd be willing to give Brandon Miller another chance in tournaments, but nothing more than that. It's a really tough matchup, regardless of like who's in and who's out for Charlotte. Right. Definitely better from the Knicks side of things. He had been running really good, really poor back-to-back games, but tournaments I'd be okay with it. Vassell up to a fantasy point per minute with Trey Jones in that like starting lineup with Jones inserted there, so I'm okay with it. I would say, in terms of like how I'd rank Spurs, he would be third, like firmly third, because Wemby's one. Yeah, behind Jones and Wemby, but he would be third. So I'd be okay getting there. Derek White, we know, gets a big bump when Porzingis is off the floor. He's just been, another inconsistent run for Derek White. I think Derek White's kind of, maybe all the minutes are catching up to him, which doesn't surprise me when anyone is playing as heavy minutes as like Boston has played their guys. So I'm okay getting Derek White, but nothing else really. I did note in the playbook, I would have some mild interest in Cam Thomas if he's starting.
Okay.
Dude, he's just like, the guy is just different when he starts and scores the basketball. Like 41 minutes.
The shot attempts are there.
Dude, no Finney Smith is obviously a big loss for them because he starts and plays heavy minutes. We have to assume Simmons is on a heavy limit. Like, it just opens up the door. Ultimately, I think Dinwiddie, if he's not dealt, is not starting long term, and I think Simmons is starting, and I think Cam Thomas starts long. Like, it's like What is your upside with the Spencer Dinwiddie lineup when you have like Simmons playing alongside Cam Thomas is like a match made in heaven. Like one guy likes to pass and one guy likes to shoot. Like why Dinwiddie likes to shoot, and that's what ran him out of town like everywhere he's been, because they're like, hey Spencer, like you're not that guy. You're good, but you're not like as good as you think you are. Good.
Right.
So I'm interested to see how the Nets handle their starting lineup. If Cam is in it, I do have some mild interest at 6K because he just is such a high upside scorer when he gets going. And like again, it's the same thing I just talked about with Bridges. Utah's a bad defensive team that can just score a lot of points offensively, right? It's not like they don't really have stoppers. They have Fontecchio. He's guarding Mikal Bridges tonight. Like they put Fontecchio on the best player. Who's guarding Cam Thomas tonight if Cam Thomas is starting? Sexton or Chris? I mean, Chris Dunn's a fine defender, but I think Cam Thomas is. If he's starting, I have some interest in tournaments for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, listen, I love that he attacks here. I mean, 12, 15, and 10 free throws the last 2 games. We talk about that all the time. It's one of the reasons why we're always high on, high on the Ben Mathurin, right? Because Mathurin has these stretches where all of a sudden he just attacks, and he's getting to the rim and getting to the free throw line, kind of helps boost up his scoring. So Cam Thomas is going to go be aggressive at the rim. I'm a big fan of him there. You got Tim Hardaway Jr. at 59. We got the other Knicks players here, DDV. Levert, Strus, Herter, someone you mentioned last night as well. Brooks, thoughts on this 5K and below tier?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty good tier. Like I expect Dante DiVincenzo to get extended. To what? You never know with Thibodeau. Like there's no telling how many minutes DiVincenzo. The only time he's ever been extended is when they literally had to, when they made the OG trade. Mm-hmm. That was like the only time. And he went nuclear in that game. So like, I expect him to get extended, really good eligibility. He's fine. Malik Monk's kind of been hurt by Kevin Huerter and Harrison Barnes. So I don't think you can get there. I'd rather just play Kevin Huerter at 5,200, who's been a really good fantasy producer lately. The minutes are on the rise. The shooting has definitely been better. So I'm good getting to Kevin Huerter at 5,200. We mentioned Jalen Suggs. The Dillon Brooks thing is interesting because he is not shooting as well as he did earlier in the year. He was knocking down everything, still taking a lot of shots. This is an obvious game where foul trouble is on the table because we know his like history with LeBron and how he thinks he's a LeBron stopper. And also he can shoot well from 3, and the Lakers give up a lot of 3s. So I do think Dillon Brooks is like mildly interesting. There's nothing else that really piques my interest all that much. I don't know if there's anything that stands out.
No, I mean, I always mention again, like Norm, they're at 44. I'm fine going down to. You talked about the other value. Quentin Grimes is actually getting some ownership love tonight. He's up over 30% as well. So, do you go back to Quentin Grimes here, who you have talked about when he gets minutes, he gets playing time, the shooting's been there, the opportunity for him here tonight.
Yeah, I do. This ownership is not surprising. If you guys listened to the show this morning, I kind of figured he would be the one guy to like get extended from this. I mean, obviously everyone and their mother thinks Josh Hart is the likely candidate to start. I think that's pretty much a given. Evan Fournier is away from the team, so he's not going to pick up any extra minutes. Quentin Grimes is a first-round pick that has just fallen by the wayside. Over a fantasy point per minute this year, when you remove guys like Quickly, Randall, Mitchell, Barrett, I mean, there's a lot to like here for $3,700 shooting guard small forward. I mean, not afraid to shoot, can space the floor, and if the size does bother Brunson at all, which I don't think it will, but if it does, dude, 160-minute sample with all of those guys off the floor this year, John, right? Quickly, Randall, Mitchell Robinson, RJ Barrett. 8.9% usage bump for Quentin Grimes to a 24.5% usage rate, 1.05 fantasy points per minute. Second or third highest mark on the team behind Brunson and Isaiah Hartenstein.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he just needs minutes. So, like, again, it's another situation where I can't fault the field for getting there. They don't overlap Brunson and McBride. They don't play together at all. McBride's just straight backup point guard. So Grimes is going to be one of the biggest beneficiaries to this Randall news. I don't think they would play pressures at the 4. Sims probably continues to see time. Maybe he does see time at the 4, but I like Quentin Grimes quite a bit at 3,700. And I don't care who knows it, John. I really don't.
That's fine. Let's go on over to small forward. Again, no one's really playing these guys, even though there is value, but you have LeBron maybe in or out against Houston. Got Jason Tatum at $9,200. I took the under on Tatum's 20.5 points today. Thinking, again, he's gone under in 8 of the last 9 games here. You got Herb Jones potentially D'ing him up. You got Brandon Ingram. You got guys down there. I know no Porzingis obviously may help his scoring a little bit, but I went the under 20.5 tonight for Jason Tatum. We got Laurie at 82, Kawhi at 82. I mean, some good pricing here for these small forward here.
You're not an under guy. You don't bet unders. Like you never bet unders.
I have some friends that bet hockey, and obviously there's only one game this week, and it's the All-Star break for them. So when I sent them an NBA play today and it was an under, they were like, "Oh no, what are we looking at here?" And it was a Celtics under. When obviously we live outside of Boston, we're Celtics fans, so I think they were a bit dubious of the play, but I don't know, man. We like Herb Jones' defense. He's gone under in 8 of the last 9. He's only shooting 41% over the last 10 games. He's shooting 31% from 3 over the last 10 games. Like, the only game he's gone over was when he played 41 minutes against Dallas. So we'll see if Tatum continues to stay under his scoring prop here tonight.
So just breaking out of the top tier, LeBron is interesting because every time we're getting him full capacity, he's beating 9,500. Yeah, it's just, is the game going to stay competitive? This seems like it will be. Houston's been a good home team. And again, I think there's a chance they sit this game, but I feel like it would be more likely that LeBron or AD sits tomorrow, considering it's a conference game with a team competing with them for the playoffs versus Atlanta tomorrow, who might trade them DeJounte Murray mid-game. During the game. They've already listed DeJounte questionable to be traded to the team they're playing is what it should read. But I'd be okay getting to LeBron here. We'll note, we saw this earlier in the year. I don't know if you remember. They played Houston early in the year. AD was ruled out in that game, and we flocked LeBron. We flocked to Reeves. They lost by 20, and LeBron played 3 quarters. So
that was the better version of Houston.
That was definitely the better version of Houston. That is for an absolute fact. Houston has definitely fallen off a little bit of late. But I'd be okay getting to LeBron. Tatum 92 is too cheap when he has ceiling games, but I agree, largely staying away from Herbie. I think Markkanen is just a 9K player that we're just getting at a discount night in, night out. Back-to-back 50-plus fantasy point games. Price hasn't moved. Brooklyn is in the bottom half of the league in terms of defense. So I have no reason why Laurie wouldn't be in a player pool at 8,200. Yeah. And then the league, all the Clippers guys are in play. Paul George at the bottom of the list for me, but you can definitely get to Kawhi.
Kawhi's interesting because when they've been in competitive games, he's played 37, 38 minutes, and we've gotten some pretty big outputs for him here. So 82 feels like a little bit too cheap for me. Tier below, I mean, we've talked about some of these guys already. You got Brandon Ingram, Franz Wagner, Jalen Williams. Our guy Dwayne in here wants to know our thoughts on Denny Avdia tonight at $6,100. Where are you in this 7-6K tier?
Yeah, so you can get the Butler 76 if he's going to be aggressive offensively. I think that's fine. Phoenix second leg of a back-to-back. They've kind of been bad defensively. They got torched by Orlando in that fourth quarter, and I should say there was the Mo Wagner experience in that game what really torched them. Shout out to us because we love Mo Wagner.
We love Mo Wagner. Yeah. Remember that weird 3 days where they took him out of the rotation to play Goga?
Yeah. Yep. And now Goga. Goga, not DMP nightly.
Goga not going to work here anymore, yeah?
Goga had been so good for them. It's just crazy. Franz is interesting. It is interesting to see his minutes on the front leg just kind of lower end of the spectrum. And maybe that's because he had missed time and they wanted to limit him on the back-to-back. But I'm good with getting to Franz. 72 is too cheap. J-Dub, you can get to. We should get full capacity minutes here after an embarrassing loss yesterday against Detroit. But we know it is OKC on a back-to-back. They are very weird on back-to-backs at times. They treat their rotations like a Target shopping trip where an Oprah handing out car trip, like everyone gets minutes.
Dude. The next you know, Mitic is in the Vidic.
Dude, 13 guys played yesterday in their Detroit loss. And that wasn't because it was a loss against Detroit. That was just because that was what Dagnall did. So
third straight road game, back-to-back, road home. I mean...
We said this. I remember we said this about the Washington when they played Washington and that game stayed competitive. Like it's just tough to travel all the time. The Denny thing is interesting because he's over a fantasy point per minute this year. It's just really about getting minutes, right?
Yeah.
New head coach interim. We're back down to mid-20s minutes. Like I don't know if that's a coincidence or not. But like I like Denny. I like the fantasy value of Denny. I like it, but I can't trust in anything but tournaments. It's a really solid tournament play because this game has a 240 total. It's a close spread. Really good fantasy producer. When he plays mid-30s minutes, it's just that's the kicker right there. It's when he plays mid-30s minutes.
Under 6K, we got Michael Porter Jr., Keldon Johnson. We've talked, obviously, some of these Knicks players already, some of the Cavs players already. Josh Hart at $5,400 down here. Thoughts on this group?
I've really landed on Josh Hart of this year. He's not like your going to go out and get you 50 fantasy point guy, but he's going to threaten a double-double nightly without Julius Randle if he's starting, and he's going to approach 40 minutes nightly.
His rebound prop tonight is set at 7.5, minus 150 on the over.
I would bet that number is 7.5 one time and one time only for the next 3 weeks. I would say
you can get 8.5 at plus 115. Think he gets 9 boards tonight?
I think he's going to threaten a double-double on a nightly basis. He is a very good rebounder for a smaller guy, and that's not going to change when he's playing more minutes, you know? Right. Now Charlotte is running a massive front court. Like they're using Miles Bridges at the 3 tonight, and we've seen Miles Bridges play center at times for them in certain rotations. So they are going big, but they're going to need Hart to rebound. So yeah, I would say 5,400 for Josh Hart. Lock in your double doubles here this evening.
Only a plus 290 for his double double tonight. So
that's probably more on the scoring front of things because he does like have lackluster scoring outings even on nights. But that is when Julius Randle is healthy, and now there's no Julius Randle, there's no RJ Barrett, there's no Emmanuel Quickley. So like all this sample is with at least one of those 3 guys. So I would say Josh Hart's threatening a double-double every night that he's starting. I do have mild interest in Cam Johnson. I do think we could see 30-plus minutes out of Cam Johnson tonight with no Dorian Finney-Smith. I think Cam Johnson is another guy that benefits from Ben Simmons being in the lineup, just given Ben Simmons' ability to pass, and that is what he's good at. But 5,100, like, really good matchup. It's just hard to trust the minutes. If you'd rather play, like, Royce O'Neal, but ultimately all this to just say like we have a lot of Memphis value.
Where's our guy Roddy? Where is he? Is he power forward only?
He's power forward center. GG Jackson is the guy that we'd get to, and also Vince Williams 6,400. Assuming he's in. There's a live scenario. Vince Williams doesn't play. There is a live scenario. He starts and comes out of the game.
Ben Simmons will play limited minutes off the bench.
Okay. So
probably locks in your guys in the starting lineup here.
So I assume all that changes in the starting lineup is Cam Johnson re-entering because he wasn't in their last game. So it's probably Dinwiddie, Bridges, Claxton, Thomas, Johnson. Who am I missing? Dinwiddie, Thomas, Bridges, Johnson, Claxton.
Yeah.
That would be the 5, I would guess.
Yep.
So Gregory Jackson, GG Jackson, as some most would know him. I have to assume we're going to get somewhere close to 30 minutes again. If they're only going to have 8 active bodies, and one of them's a guy that they just called up from the G League, one of them's Xavier Tillman, who's clearly limited.
Mm-hmm.
Then you factor in there's obviously blowout risk. Then you factor in there's inherent Jaren Jackson Jr. foul risk. There's just a lot of things lining up for GG Jackson.
We'll get this question out of the way. How many Memphis Grizzlies are you playing tonight?
Max 4.
Okay. Roddy, Jackson, Pippen, and then maybe
Jackson.
one more. Jackson. Jaren Jackson, Gregory Jackson.
Like you could sell me on 5.
We got the Nets lineup, and as you said, Cam Thomas, Cam Johnson, Bridges, Claxton, Dinwiddie.
Okay. So I definitely have interest in Cam Thomas in the starting lineup. Definitely, I have interest in basically everyone there, with the exception of Spencer Dinwiddie.
Okay.
Just because I think his time as a starting point guard is coming to an end. I would say you could sell me on 5 Memphis guys because I do have interest in someone like Santi Aldama too at power forward at 54. And I do think like if Vince Williams were to play, I would have interest in I think that game could stay much more competitive. He's going to guard De'Aaron Fox, right? Like that's your best defender on their best player. So I would say base max 4, but you could sell me on 5 potentially.
Yeah. All right, let's move on over to power forward here. Again, some big names up at the top. You got Giannis against Denver, Anthony Davis, Kevin Durant, Victor Wembanyama, as I mentioned, is 36%. That's what we have him projected at tonight. We were already high on him before that. We talked about what his ceiling can be, all the value, matchup against the Wizards at home. Just locking and loading Wemby tonight, and you have really no trouble doing so with all the value that's out there.
For all those in the chat right now, let's do a little interactive, and we can just move on from here, and we'll take guesses. And I don't know if I said it, so I might have spoiled it already. If you guys want to go ahead and guess what Victor Wembanyama's fantasy point per minute output is since Trey Jones entered the starting lineup, please do. Just start flooding the comments with what you think Victor Wembanyama is averaging on a fantasy point per minute scale with Trey Jones as a starting point guard. Because
and don't embarrass us. Don't all do it at once. We see how many people are watching.
Yeah, please. Yes. Yeah, come on.
We know you're in there. We know you're in there. There you go. Cam the Man's helping us out. 1.8.
Cam the Man 1.86. Okay. Before we reveal the answer, it's hard not to get to Wemby playing 30 minutes when he's priced this way. Because you've been saying it forever. When you'd tease me up, you'd be like, all right, well, he's playing 24 minutes, but going for 50.
Right.
Well, now he's playing 30 minutes, and every game is 50 fantasy. Every single game he is playing, he is getting you 50 fantasy points because he's scoring 20 plus every night. He is essentially getting you double-digit rebounds every night. He's a good passer, and then the defense, that's where the difference comes, right? If he has your 7-block game while he's doing that, you're getting 60 plus.
Right.
If he just has his run-of-the-mill 4 to 5 stocks game, then, he's getting you 50. So, at 8-9, he's just inherently giving you upside, regardless of, if it's 4 blocks and steals or 7 blocks and steals. There's just no chance. I don't want to say no chance. Let me back. Let me not jinx this man tonight. But if he's playing 30 minutes, he's getting us a baseline of 50 fantasy points, and then it's just what comes next. We have 0.99 from Andrew. I'll just spoil it. Andrew, you're missing a 1 in front of the 9.9. He's at 0.19 fantasy points per minute this year since January 4th when Trey Jones entered the starting lineup. That's just absurd. That's like Jokic. I looked this up. Jokic is at 1.7 fantasy points per minute this year. Joel Embiid is a little higher. Like, dude, these are the MVPs of the league.
Yeah.
Not averaging what this guy is averaging since Trey Jones has entered the starting lineup. So, like, it's just really hard. And I'm with the field. Like, I'm good getting to the field. If I'm playing multiple lineups, I'm over the field on Victor Wembanyama's ownership tonight.
Yeah.
So, he is one of my top gets of the night at 8,900.
The moment he plays 36 fantasy points at 2 fantasy points per minute, there's your 70 fantasy.
Well, I have that. Well, I have that. If you remember, that was how I
nearly took down the 12 single, right?
Yeah, earlier in the year, 27 with a lone Wemby playing 36 minutes against Phoenix, and again, like every night, it seems like that cap that Pop is just like, you know what? Let me just see what he can do at 31, 32 minutes. That's what we're gonna get, and sky's the limit when that starts happening.
Yep. Moving our way down the list again, we have Banchero here at 84. A lot of guys we've discussed. You do have Triple J now at 81. Miles Bridges at 8K. Towns, Kuzma at $7,900. Your 8K range.
Yeah, that's really where I'm living. Jaren Jackson, Miles Bridges, Kyle Kuzma. Kuzma's taken 51 shots for his interim head coach over the last 2 games. There is something, I guess he's from Detroit. His mom lives in Detroit. I've heard this like 7 times today on things that I've heard, and he wanted to show out for his I think he played at Michigan, I believe. So, maybe that's led to the 27 shots, but didn't lead to 24 against Utah. So if he's going to keep shooting like this, it's a great spot. You could definitely get to Kuzma. I do think the Bridges thing is very interesting. He's a very good fantasy point per minute guy without LaMelo Ball and Terry Rozier in the lineup. We saw it the other day. They were getting blown out in that Utah game. They obviously made it close because PJ Washington had a 40-point game. Played 41 minutes in a game that they were down by 30 at one point. And he had 50 fantasy points. So I definitely am good on getting to Bridges, multi-position eligible. And Jaren Jackson Jr. has a 60-point ceiling tonight if that game stays competitive and if he can stay out of foul trouble. Because he's going to take 30 shots. It's just undoubtedly if he can stay out of foul trouble.
44 minutes, and be out there. So I'm with you.
I'm living in that range for sure.
All right. Underneath, we do have like the 7K, 6K tier. Not a ton for me down here that we haven't already discussed. There's John Collins. Touched on Michael Porter Jr. already. Jabari is down here. Aldama at $5,400. Same price as Josh Hart, who we've discussed already here. Roddy's $4,400 where the ownership's going. Second highest rostered player on the slate tonight is David Roddy at $4,400. Where do you find yourself plugging?
Yeah, I mean, I like the Memphis guys. You could play. There's 4 different Memphis guys at power forward. Take your pick on which you would like to use. I think any and all of them are in play. I do have Jared Vanderbilt in the playbook today. He has been really, really good of late. 33, 30, 39 fantasy points, 25, 27, 41 minutes. Wouldn't be surprised if sooner than later we're seeing Vanderbilt start over Taurean Prince. I think that switch is coming eventually. Just given, I mean, he's just playing more and better than Taurean Prince. And we know this is the lineup. The Vanderbilt lineup is what led the Lakers into the Western Conference Finals last year. Like they made that deal for him and D'Lo, and him being in that starting 5 got them there. Now, since they've extended him 2 wins in a row in a close game against the Clippers. So Vanderbilt 43 would be the only other name. It is, I'm going to say this. Jonathan Isaac has played 22 and 23 minutes, right?
Yep.
This is a back-to-back that is obviously concerning. Not on the injury report as of now. We've seen Orlando add people later in the day, like previously. So that is definitely something to, I would say, monitor. But I think we are on the cusp of something here with Jonathan Isaac. And I'm not just saying that from a Jonathan Isaac fan that you fanboys that you and I are. He is just a really good fantasy point per minute guy. And if he is going to continue to play 20 plus minutes, that is all you need. If you guys have been rocking with us since the beginning of the year, John was playing him when he was playing 14 minutes and he was giving you 20 fantasy points a night. And
Yep.
he is a good offensive player. He is really, really elite defensively. He can guard multiple positions. So it is something that if you I don't think you need to get there because you have Memphis.
No, not tonight, but something to continue to watch.
Yeah, something to monitor.
Center position, Jokic, Sabonis, your top two. Anthony Davis there as well at 10K. Obviously, you can play any of these guys. I don't think we have any problems with this. Sabonis would be a blowout worry in their matchup specifically. Thoughts on the group?
Definitely like Jokic. He's been really, really good lately. The only time he hasn't put up 60-plus fantasy points was in a blowout loss where he got hurt still had 48 DraftKings points in 27 minutes. So
hooked me on the rebounds. I had 11.5. Big sad.
Yeah, that's a tough one. It's how good the Knicks have been. They blew Denver out, right?
11 and 27 minutes, man. I was like, come on. What are we doing?
That's sad. Definitely okay getting Jokic. If you believe that the Sacramento-Memphis game can stay competitive, then Sabonis is the guy for you. Memphis starting Jaren Jackson at center. He is not a center. He is a power forward. That's why they continuously put centers next to him. They just don't have an option to put a center next to him anymore. So I do like Sabonis if you think that game can stay competitive. Davis is interesting. Şengün is definitely a better offensive player than he is a defensive player. That is very apparent from watching Alperen Şengün. Davis can definitely dominate this matchup.
54 fantasy points in the 2 games against him.
Yeah, so I'm good getting to Davis, and 10K is that's just too cheap for Anthony Davis when he's full capacity. And then when you move down, I was a little more bullish on Şengün earlier in the day or last night when we did the pod. I think Şengün is definitely safe-ish because he is just really skilled offensively and does a lot of things. Can definitely get you to 5x, but his ceiling is probably a little limited with Anthony Davis on the other side of the floor.
Yeah.
I think Bam's price is too cheap. Just going to point that out. I don't know where the scoring has gone over the last couple of days. I don't like to see that since Terry Rozier has arrived that he has suddenly not scored the basketball because this has been their best player all year. Undoubtedly their best player took the leap offensively that we've now.
I'm more worried about the assists. 3 total assists last
week. It's brutal. Don't like to see that. So I do love the price, but I would like to see him be a little more aggressive offensively.
He's minus 200 for a double-double tonight, but obviously that doesn't necessarily play up in DFS if he's getting you 10 and 10,
Yeah, so. At 8,100, it's not great.
Jared Allen's at 7,700, but we have Mobley expected to play 20-24 minutes, so we have to at least downgrade him in that situation, I think. Holmgren, Gobert, I know you're big on Claxton, and we have Hartenstein here. I think most people just plug Wemby in at center tonight, honestly, if not going down to the value. Nick Richards at $5,600 is someone that you and I were pretty high on this morning.
Yeah, I mean, all the ownership is Claxton, Jokic, or Wemby.
Yeah.
So I would assume that's correct. And it's a good approach because it's not a very deep position. I do like Claxton. It's really hard not to like the minutes lately. 37, 39 minutes last 3 games. 35 plus fantasy points in all those games. Has had 30 plus fantasy points in 8 straight, which is, was a problem with him earlier in the year. Yeah. Hartenstein is interesting because the matchup is so good. Just obviously, I don't know what the Achilles is limiting him at because he only played 16 in his return. They didn't need him to play anymore, but if he's at all capped, I don't want to play Hartenstein at 6,900. It is a really good fantasy point per minute output from him. It's almost 1.2 fantasy points per minute. I just see we got the Yusuf Nurkic game time decision right here. Drew Eubanks assumed would start in his place. But there's not a deep position. You mentioned Richards. He's coming off a monster game, as is PJ Washington. But I do think Washington starting helps Nick Richards continuously play more because now you're just not you're playing them alongside one another. Where Washington was always potential to back Richards up. Well,
I don't know if I'm doing Barlow anymore now that the minutes continue to rise for Wemby, but you definitely play Wemby for sure. Collins at.
Yeah, I mean, Barlow is still so like you do have to consider that if Wemby's 30 minutes, there's still 18 minutes up for grabs, right? So Barlow is still playing like basically 18 plus minutes, still getting you.
It's more so what I think you could be sacrificing. I guess you could play
Agreed.
him, you
Yeah,
could
you
play
could.
them all, right? Because Wemby's got power forward center eligible, so
You're not wrong because then like why play Barlow when you could just plug a Memphis guy that's going to play 15 more minutes than
right.
him most likely. So I largely agree. I also don't have really anything else to add at center. There's
I'm
not
just gonna
much.
build. I'm gonna plug Wemby at center. We're gonna go Roddy at power forward. Go Scottie Pippen
Scottie
at one of the
Pippen.
guards here.
Gigi Jackson, I think, is going to get plenty of time, especially if Vince Williams is ruled out. I just fully expect Gigi Jackson to start. I would just assume that's how they go about their starting lineup with Gigi Jackson starting.
Can we get what's Scottie Pippen, point guard, shooting guard? Just
No, he's just point guard. Who were we thinking right there? There was a
Murray.
Yeah. Then you could play a Brooklyn like Cam Thomas or Bridges at shooting guard, or you could play Quentin Grimes at shooting guard at 3,700, and then you can really get into the
$7,700 forward.
And you can really get into Mikal. Back to
sure.
Mikal.
Why not? So $500 left over. A little example lineup, kind of throwing all the chalk value pieces together here. We're obviously high on the guards with Murray and Brunson. We like Mikal Bridges against Utah in that spot for him. Scottie Pippen, Quentin Grimes, Gigi Jackson, David Roddy, Victor Wembanyama, Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, and Jamal Murray. Playbook is out. Get in the Discord if you have any questions. James will be in there to roster lock here this evening. We'll be back, obviously, with our morning show in the morning. We'll be back here live at 5 o'clock Eastern like we are every day. If you haven't already liked and or subscribed to the channel, do so you never miss a live show. Good luck tonight, everybody. We'll catch y'all later.